So welcome back to Stu Structures. We're going to take another look at the Bone Yards here in Belington, West Virginia, and go into one piece of equipment especially, so stay tuned. So definitely welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you coming back and sharing this time with me. Recently, I know that they've talked about this for a while, but I guess the West Virginia Railroad Museum, in cooperation with the Durbin and Greenbrier Railroad, who operates a lot of the scenic railroads here in West Virginia. They operate Cass, logging railroad. They operate the Durbin and Rocket over there in that area, which has a little Heisler locomotive, which is pretty cool. And they just reopened all the line that washed out in 1985 flood from Durbin to Cass. So there's probably going to be some excursions over there. They had rebuilt an F unit in the C&O label, I think, to haul some things over there, which I think I showed a picture of in one of my earlier videos. But they also have an E unit sitting here in town. And those of you that have been to the B&O Museum in Baltimore some years ago, you used to see an E8 sitting there in Department of Transportation collars. And several years ago, when the line here was planning on setting up a railroad museum in Elkins, West Virginia, and restoring the roundhouse and a turntable. They have the steel for the turntable sitting down here on a flat car for years now. But the state decided it wasn't worth the money to invest in for the return that they expected to get from it, so it kind of came to a hold. But during that time they were planning, the B&O Museum donated the E8 that was setting up there to the local railroad here. And it's been sitting down here in the yard ever since. So, I went down today and I took a bunch of pictures of it, and it's in very sad shape. So, it's a nice piece of our history, especially if you're a B&O fan, but even in the United States in general, I don't know how many E units are surviving, if there's any others than this. But it's a nice piece of history from 1950 that needs to be restored and saved for our heritage. And I'm glad to see they're doing that. So let's just jump into this, and I'll show you some pictures and tell you a little bit more about it as we go through this. Now you can see from these pictures here, this first one I used in the opening shot. And from a distance, you can see that there's some rust and decay in it, but basically, the closer you get to this, the worse things really look. This is in really sad shape, unfortunately. And as I go through these pictures, you'll see all the big rust holes and the missing metal, and this is a major undertaking. Now this locomotive, according to some of the B&O reference materials out there, was a GM EMD E8A. The number was 92 when it was delivered to the B&O Railroad in 1950. And this was painted in the blue and gray and black scheme and used mostly on passenger trains. It was a 2250 horsepower locomotive. And it saw, use on many of the passenger trains, and then eventually it became Amtrak DOTX 210, number 210. And it ended up in the collection of the B&O Railroad Museum, which was deeded as a gift to the West Virginia Railroad Museum on March 4th, 2004. The railroad has embarked, like I said, on a restoration project for this locomotive. It's going to be a very, very long process to get this done. I haven't looked at the size of this in the small shop that they have in Belington to redo this in. I'm assuming since it's sitting here, this is where they're going to rebuild it. But the decades of, exposure to the elements really have just given this thing some severe corrosion and structural damage. There are large sections that are just degraded to the point that I'm not sure, if you can fill a lot of it with fiberglass or anything. You're going to have to rebuild metal in a lot of it. You might be able to use fiberglass or, body filler in some of it. But you know, it's amazing how dilapidated this is. I'm glad they're going to save it, but you know, this is a major undertaking. Now they are, you know, looking for people that want to you know, give volunteer time or donate money to help with this. And basically at wvrailroadmuseum@gmail.com, you can volunteer or donate through that site to help restore this locomotive. And you know, it's going to take a lot to do this. There's a newspaper article from the Barber Democrat that said that it'll take approximately 850 man-hours of scraping and repairing and painting to complete it. The article says it will require 20 gallons of primer, 20 gallons of high-gloss paint, 25 gallons of white spirits, 10 gallons of boiled linseed oil. And you know, that's just after you can repair the metal and do all the welding and the body filling and everything else on this. It's my understanding that the prime mover is no good in this unit. I'm assuming it's still in there. I've not climbed in this locomotive. I may do that to see what it looks like inside. But it needs a new prime mover from what I understand, and I'm not sure if there is anything like that available in this country anymore to even do that. I mean, it'll make a nice static display, and they had considered using it just as a control unit one time, but a lot of the rail and the areas that they go through up here, I mean, there's tunnels that this thing, because of its length and the tunnel is in a curve, it won't even go through the tunnel without, you know, taking out the side of the locomotive in the tunnel. They have to use shorter passenger cars on those trips in those areas of the railroad even. So, you know, I'm very glad they're going to restore this locomotive, but this is a serious project. And if you can go to that website and donate money for the project, or if you have time and want to come to Belington, West Virginia to do this, I mean, it hasn't been moved into the shop. I'm not sure when the actual repairs will begin on this locomotive, but you know, I'm sure that website will give you all that information and details and contact numbers to call if you want to be involved, or places to where you can donate the money to help see this locomotive restored. So in any case, this is one piece I'm glad to see, you know, kind of getting away from the boneyard and having its skin put back on the bones to where it regains some life, or at least look like it's alive. You know, this was really a nice locomotive in the day, and I just love the blue and gray and black paint scheme that the B&O had on all their passenger equipment. So I'm really looking forward to the day when this will be restored to that and, you know, be a nice looking piece of equipment. So I hope you enjoyed this little sidetrack from my normal videos. I may do a few more of these because I'm having less and less time this spring to work on buildings, and something like this I can go downtown and shoot some videos and, you know, do some stuff in the bone yards and put out some things like that. I mean, there's a nice collection of old diesels down here. I mean, there's a lot of nice old rolling stock that they're using, let alone the passenger cars. But there's a lot of unique pieces of equipment sitting on the sidings that they had planned on originally used in the museum. And now that I don't know what's going to happen with all that, I don't think it's going to happen in Elkins. They may do one somewhere else, I don't know. But all this equipment's down here. So, you know, it's nice to see that they're going to save this E8 unit. Maybe we'll do some more videos of the boneyard. They picked up a bunch of diesels from what used to be the Elk River Railroad down in central West Virginia. So they're starting to, well, one of them they have serviceable now, and they're using it in their freight runs and stuff. And maybe I'll just do a video on some of the diesels that are here and talk about their heritage and everything in a video. That would be interesting to a lot of you probably. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you back for coming back and sharing this time with me. I do appreciate it. And I hope this was a nice little excursion for my normal building of buildings for you. It's all, you know, something that's used to back up and show history and give ideas for people to do model railroading. You know, the one-to-one scale is where we get everything from that we do on a miniature scale. So it's nice to see a lot of this stuff being preserved so that we have something to go by to scratch build things. In any case, I hope you're out there and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have an E-unit, I hope it doesn't look as bad as this one. And I hope it's serviceable and you're enjoying your trains on your model railroads. So happy model railroading.